One thing, I don't know if this is something that you probably learned as well, but I wanted to talk about taking photos online. So you're not
Oh,
actually
yeah,
in
sorry.
the same room. And to be
Yeah,
honest with you, that brings me also to Michelle Hunter, because I follow her on Twitter.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I remember that she posted, at the beginning of the lockdown, that obviously she couldn't take the photos and stuff for obvious reasons. And then a few months later, she mentioned that she just had a photo shoot with Rule, that
yeah,
Australian singer, and
yeah.
she did it online. And I was like, how is it even possible? And then I
Uh,
thought, yeah, because for me, it's like a concept that doesn't happen. I mean, you just have to be in the room with that person and like with the camera and take a photo. So, and I know that you've done some as well. So can you kind of explain how it works and like why
yeah,
it even works at all? Because for me, it's
for
just
sure.
beyond my little brain, comprehension.
Well, I think, I think it's beyond most was beyond pretty much all of us, and basically it was just Betty Grumble, who's a performer, Australian performer, who's pretty amazing. And yeah, love her. She's been photographing her for years, and she's just a huge inspiration. And always, every time I see her, I forget that the reason that I love her so much is because she makes me laugh so much. Her performances are, I find it, that's my reaction to them, and just blow my mind and make me laugh a lot. She was doing a online show with
Mm-hmm.
about, I think a few other performers called Grumble and Friends, and I was, so I was going to sit there and watch it on the computer, and I just crossed my mind to take a photo and see if it would work. And so yeah, that's all it is really, is like just so picking up and doing the same thing. Oh yeah, I took your photo, but your eyes are closed. And um, I felt pretty silly. Yeah, felt really silly, and but took shots, and at the end of it, had a look at them all, and went, they're kind of cool. Like they're different, and um, yeah, they're still photos. So yeah, and then she, she kind of liked them, and she booked me, and to shoot quite a few of her
Wow.
those events over the weeks. And I was like, I would never have imagined
Mhm.
that I could get paid to photograph through the computer. And yeah, and so I did. Um, I think I photographed. Yeah, like a Tex Perkins did a on the what was it called, the show he did.
Mhm.
Uh, every month or so he did a show in his big shed in New South Wales, with a few other performers or whatever. And as he kept saying, he's got two smoke machines, and the lighting was really cool. And so I took a few shots of those, and so there was a few things that I documented along the way that I was particularly interested in. But I tried to put parameters around it, that I'd only photograph it, I only do it once, and only
Mhm.
do it at the time it was aired. So I did try taking like a literal screen print through
Yeah.
just through your keyboard. That didn't work very well at all, because it's not fast enough, I guess, or it depends on what you're trying to get. But yeah, learning with the camera and the screen. So then I went on to do um, a project called Artists in Residence, where I photographed
Mhm.
53 Victorian artists, and did virtual portraits with them. So um, yeah, it's so I've done a lot of them now. Yeah, I've done a lot. And each time I've noticed you still go through the same process.
Mhm.
And people would tell me on the other side, they still went through the same process as preparing to do a portrait shoot in real life. You still feel nervous. And then, and people say, oh, as soon as you bring the camera up as well, I can, I feel like that if that happened when that happens in real life, it
Mhm.
feels the same. The challenges, I guess, apart from the obvious, are trying to, I can't move. I mean, I can move a little, but I can't move in a room to get better light
Mhm.
or to get a better angle. I can only work with what's presented in front of me. I can ask people to move. Um, and so obviously when those artists were more conscious of light and, how all those things work, then the results would often be better because, they'd already set it up. or they're already thinking of those things.
Yeah.
Not everyone's like that though, and so you never know what you're going to look at when the Zoom video popped up as well, and I'm kind of like, okay, you're in a dark room with bad curtains and no light. Okay, let's have a chat, and maybe we should try it outside. Let's go outside and what we can find, and also during that time, yeah, a lot of those artists weren't working, had all their income decimated, all their, as like Karen in finance said, the words were something like, don't know what my place in the world is or anymore, or who I am in the world anymore, because you don't get to be that person and do that thing. And so a lot of those sessions were long, and there was lots of conversation, and some people I were the first person they'd spoken to or had done a Zoom call with ever, done a Zoom call with like that ever, and some people hadn't spoken to people for months. So yeah, there's still all the same things as when you're doing a normal photo, shoot, I guess. But yeah, same thing, just taking a photo of the screen and then editing like you would normally.
And from a technical perspective, doesn't the reflection from the computer screen disturb a little, and then you kind of have to have some other settings as well? Is it, because I would think that, but I'm not a professional, so, just my
No,
guess.
you're right. No, totally. So it just, so I've got it's quite a small room here, and the light is from behind. Yeah, so obviously the window's behind the computer. So I've got not bad light on me, which doesn't matter because I'm not in the shot. But yeah, if I had the computer over there, that wouldn't work at all. You just blow it out. So yeah, these things I guess I don't even think about consciously anymore. So yeah, you'd want the light behind you. So I have a relatively fast shutter speed going, but not super fast, because people aren't usually moving a lot. But because there's not a lot of movement, and the screen, I guess, can be quite bright compared to real life as well. So I wouldn't change the settings a lot once I kind of got to where I knew what the settings would work best, and didn't really have to change much, which is like most shoots you do, you figure out what works best. And well, I do anyway, and just leave it there unless something significantly changes. And I think most of those were done sort of in the winter months as well, so it's not super bright. Even outside, it's not super bright. Yeah, even though we're in the middle of summer now, still not super bright. So it's a week here.
Okay, cool. So it's actually easier than I thought, because I thought that you guys have some tricks and you need to have some special equipment for that, but it just looks like the principle is the same. It's so it's good to know, because I was really surprised and I never thought that it would be a thing. But I guess lockdown taught us that everything can be done online now, that even photographers can have home office and work from home. So
actually, I think that probably I was thinking the other things I should have said is what it does though. So for me, it was like in the end, it's all pixels. Whether it's me photographing the tree there or the computer screen, they're still just pixels. But it kind of at moments it was a bit like, so I'm going through the lens in my eye, through my contact lens, through the lens in the camera, through the lens there, and then out there, and it's just like there's so many lenses, and the fact that we're talking and you're in Poland, and I can take your photo, it kind of does blow your mind, doesn't it? So because it is also a computer screen, you'd have like a much sort of more pixelated result. And a couple of the prints that I got made, I've worked with the same printers called SML XL, and he's like, do you want me to tidy up the finish of that to take out? I'm like, no, because that's the shot. Like, I don't want it to look like a normal shot. I want it to have that. I don't know how to describe the finish, but it's it doesn't have the clarity. I guess those are the other things too. So I can talk a lot about this. I realize now I had to give up the fact that you can't have the clarity you normally have. I like the clarity. I might like things to be blurred, but they're kind of choices, I guess. But I do I do like clarity. You just can't get that kind of clarity on the screen, because you right now, even, there's a blur, it's not, yeah. And so you're never going to get that like I would get that in real life. So having to just sort of go, put that aside and go, this is just different, and be okay with it. It's kind of, it's kind of liberating in some ways.
Mhm.
And also all the rules around it, like normally you have to have, you should never crop, to an irregular size. You should have the standard dimensions. Well, the computer screen doesn't have those dimensions, and the Zoom box isn't those dimensions. So then I get the shot back and go, but it's not. Here's the image, and then we've got the computer screen here and the computer screen here. So either, to make it a standard size, I can leave that in, crop the whole image, or making it a regular size so it just
Mhm.
looks like the shot. So there's a couple in the end there. It's they're irregular sizes, and I would never ever do that not normally. Like I would never do that. Never
Okay.
have an irregular size. Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, I didn't go to photography school or whatever, but in the sort of master classes I've done or whatever, it's very much ingrained in me. You never do an irregular size.
Okay. And there's